be here.
Good evening, everyone. We'd like to call the meeting to order. Everyone's very welcome. Good to see a large audience again. Tonight, it is Tuesday, May 22nd, 2018, and I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Rhinebeck Central School District Board of Education to order. May I have a motion for approval of the minutes of May 8th, our regular meeting?
So moved. Second.
Any corrections, amendments, changes? Okay, all those in favor? 6 in favor, that motion passes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the May 15th, 2018 annual meeting?
So moved. Second.
Any changes, amendments?
I think Wendy already made the changes. Some of the numbers were wrong.
All right, the numbers as amended, thank you. All those in favor? 6 in favor, that motion passes. We have an opportunity for public comment. Seeing as we have a large public this evening, may I ask you to approach the microphone and identify yourself for everyone here and for those watching at home. We also do have another opportunity for public comment that will take place later in the meeting.
Hello. Testing. Is this on?
It's on.
All right, well, I'm talking really loud anyway. All right, so first I'd like to congratulate the retirees. That's it. I wish my speech could be all about you and all about really happy things, but I feel very strongly that I need to speak out about what's going on in our district. So my name is Amy Christie, and I teach AP Biology, Living Environment, and Forensic Science in high school. I've come to many of these board meetings, but I've avoided coming up here because I really tend to be, I wear my heart on my sleeve. My face gives away all my emotions, and I tend to say way too much about things that I'm really passionate about. And this I feel really passionate about. And I feel that it is now time for all of us to speak out about the lack of support we feel from this board regarding our contract. I left the Red Hook School District in 2002 to come to Rhinebeck for 2 reasons. Though I loved teaching at Red Hook, I didn't feel the Red Hook board supported teachers very well in terms of their contract. Contracts in Red Hook were often hard to negotiate, with teachers feeling unsupported and unappreciated. The math was easy to do, and it showed me that over my career I would be financially supported better here. The second reason I came here was because Rhinebeck allowed me to bring my children to school here, which was amazingly generous. My children received an unbelievable education that set them on career paths that are incredibly exciting. I have taught at 8 schools, including my Peace Corps experience and my time teaching in Ecuador. This staff is by far the hardest working, most professional staff I have worked with. Your teachers spend countless hours doing things for kids for which there is no financial remuneration, including servicing on countless committees, after-school reviews, helping kids throughout the day, including before school and after school, working in the garden on days of service, on weekends, and in the summer. I could go on and on, all for the promotion of a healthy, happy, successful, supported student body. Teachers of older students write so many letters of recommendation for their pupils with the goal of helping our students' dreams come true. I truly have felt that this is a major part of my job. To write recommendations so fantastic that Princeton, University of Vermont, Dutchess Community College just can't say no. We fall in love with our students and want them to succeed in all ways, and we do so over and above what is written in our job description. The results of these selfless acts of time and kindness are clear. Rhinebeck is a highly regarded school with high test scores and the honor of being selected for many lists of top schools year after year. The Rhinebeck Board has always, until now, supported its teachers, and past negotiations were a give and take, with compromise on both sides. Our negotiating team has had 14 meetings with you, and they have brought you numerous ideas and concessions, which you have refused to consider. This is the first time since I have been here, and perhaps in the history of this school, that the board has not been willing to negotiate a fair contract. We all understand the financial situation this school finds itself in, but we are simply asking for a contract which is on par with our neighboring districts. You are asking us to take benefit reductions and raises that are a fraction of what Red Hook, Millbrook, and other neighboring districts have settled for. No one talks about the money set aside in each budget for teacher raises, but we are all wondering, where is that money? Why are you not negotiating a fair contract that reflects monies built in the budget for teacher raises? If I were to consider coming to Rhinebeck today instead of 2002, I would stay in Red Hook. You are not going to get new teachers or keep this amazing staff if you do not start to negotiate fairly. You will lose teachers to districts that do fairly negotiate and promote an environment of mutual respect and appreciation. Our Rhinebeck environment has negative undertones for the first time since I have been here. For myself and many other teachers I've spoken with, who I have to say are not on the union negotiating committee, we are feeling collectively that if a contract does not start to be fairly negotiated with our negotiating team who are working so hard, why should we donate our time to be on committees and do all of the extra things we do? I really would hate to see the lack of the ability of this board to compromise and work with its teachers to settle a fair contract to affect the children in this district. I am not looking forward to next year if you do not reconsider your position. We are not going to settle for a contract that is subpar. We are a solid collective unit who agrees on this. I know that some board members must agree with at least some of what I'm saying, and it's time for you to stand up to those who are creating obstacles in our negotiations. For the sake of the children in this community, who have always been the reason we are here in this profession, let's start to listen to each other, negotiate with good intention, and develop a contract that is fair to the teachers in your employ. Thank you.
Mrs. Christie for that impassioned and really thoughtful presentation to all of us. We appreciate the care with which she presented it to us. Are there others who wish to speak? We do have another opportunity for public comment further along in the meeting. Not seeing anyone coming forward now. We will move on to our reports and discussion, and our first item of business is, in fact, as Mrs. Christie noted, recognition of our staff retirees. I beg your indulgence for a few moments as we honor each of the employees of the district who are retiring this year at the end of 2018, and I'm going to share a few words with you that I collected from various colleagues, the people with whom they worked, and I hope you'll listen in the spirit of recognition of each of these individuals. First, I want to recognize Kevin Kipp. Is Kevin here? Is it Kevin?
I don't think Kevin is going to be here.
He's not here.
He's not going to be here.
Okay, well, I'm still going to say a few words about Mr. Kipp. As I think many of us know here, that Kevin Kipp has meticulously maintained field hockey fields and all of the fields for many years in the Rhinebeck schools. And as my colleague to the left has pointed out to me, specifications state the grass should be no more than a 1/4 inch high, which requires frequent mowing. And in fact, coaches from all over Section 9 have commented that there are no better fields than the fields here in Rhinebeck. Mr. Boucher also pointed out that Kevin is an individual who has always taken tremendous pride in his work. It is apparent in the condition of our grounds. He has frequently been told, Mr. Boucher, that by visiting schools and families and players who come here, that our fields are and facilities are far and above what we find in other districts. So the commitment to excellence that Kevin has shown us over all of the years, and he has served here 19 years, will be greatly missed as he moves on. Please join me in thanking Mr. Kevin Kemp. Is Donna Mahoney here?
There you go.
Mrs. Mahoney has been here in the district for 33 years, an incredible accomplishment. And as Brett King noted, it is you who have always offered a smile in Chancellor Livingston to every student, every morning. You are someone who has truly loved interacting with the students, and it has been evident in the response that you get from those students every day. Students feel safe, and they know that they can count on you for anything that they may need to start each day at Chancellor. I think whole generations of families have come to know Chancellor through their interactions with you and your friendliness and welcoming manner. Thank you for all of that and more. To recognize Lori Bathrick Keel. Is Lori here? Recognizing 34 years of service. I'm sorry, I got my reading glasses on, so I've got to go back and forth. Hello, Lori. I'm gonna put my reading glasses back on now. So, what can I say about the work you have done in the high school? Well, Ed Davenport tells me that as the main office secretary in the Rhinebeck High School, you sit in the eye of the hurricane. You are responsible for a wide range of tasks, from deploying substitute teachers on a daily basis, aides on a daily basis, responding to requests for information from the public throughout the day, managing student requests as they come in, managing Dr. Davenport's calendar, managing outgoing and incoming correspondence, including building-wide mailings, compiling and providing staff attendance records to the district office, assisting the athletic director with transportation arrangements, and a host of, this list is about a whole page. So I would like to say, though, through all of this, you've worked collaboratively with staff, obviously, in the attendance office, guidance office, and district offices, providing all the data reports and supporting materials that are needed. Last but not least, Dr. Davenport notes, quote, "You are responsible for saving him from himself," which is no easy task. I think many families have been particularly appreciative of the incredible work that you've done over the years in planning and implementing the yearly academic awards assembly, the primary role you've taken in planning and implementing Rhinebeck's beautiful commencement exercises, and working with 400 adolescents and faculty every day is no easy matter. You have always been flexible, understanding, professional, and child-centered. You are a warm and welcoming, positive presence in the high school office for both staff and students, and I have to say also for families and members of the public. So please join me in thanking Mrs. Scott. Next, I would like to recognize Nancy Abel. Is Nancy here? Nancy. Nancy Abel has been with us for 32 years in the district. And as we know from hearing her speak at our last board meeting, she is a passionate advocate for middle school education. As a lifelong middle school teacher, she has always been a proponent of the middle school programming and philosophy for which BMS is justly known. Nancy, you have been a leader within your department and your grade level team. And I think as many of us know, just last year you were selected as a 2017 Educator of Excellence by the New York State English Council. I understand from your colleagues that you are a lover of word origins and grammar. You believe in teaching ELA using whole literacy, creating lifelong lovers of language. And you have always been a proponent of the belief that reading and writing are inseparable skills best learned in tandem. You have taught that writing is a tool and a springboard for thinking. Also, we know you have attended a host of professional meetings and conferences over the years that have really brought this approach to teaching whole literacy to middle level education here in our district. I understand some people believe that you will likely be reading, writing poetry and watching birds in your retirement, and we wish you the very best and thank you from the bottom of our hearts. To recognize Tina Michaluk, who has served in this district for 23 years. There you are, Tina. When I spoke with your colleagues about your years of service here in the district, I learned from John Chemnitzer that you are always ready with a smile for students and staff alike, that you are caring in nature, forming positive relationships with students, taking a real interest in their lives, both in and out of school. And I have to share a few very personal recollections of your colleague, Regina, who shared some stories. I won't tell all the stories she shared with me, but she tells us that she met you first 17 years ago when you were working together in Rhinebeck, and she has been your colleague and friend ever since. She describes you as dedicated, compassionate, and deeply committed. Your shift begins at 7:50, but you are here by 7 a.m. every day, and Regina is not kidding about that. She says, yours is the first face that we all see every day when we come upstairs. You have a great sense of humor, and at times a bit of the devil in you. She has assisted in the office, cafeteria, playground, classrooms, and study halls, and you take tremendous pride in your work, possessing a sunny disposition. Honestly, there is really nothing that you have not done in your capacity as teacher aide. On a personal note, she remarks that what makes you so dear to her as a colleague is how you bring joy and love to the world every time you step out the door. It is the foundation of who you are and what you bring to this community. She will miss seeing your face at work, as I know all of your colleagues will. Thank you for your years of service. To recognize Barbara Rizzolo. Hello. And Mrs. Rizzolo has served in the district for 21 years. Is that correct? Many of your colleagues spoke to me of their tremendous respect and admiration for the work you have done in Chancellor. You are a perfect example of a professional who has never stopped learning or challenging yourself. One of the most thoughtful educators, this is in the words of one of your colleagues, that they have ever encountered or had the pleasure of working with. You have always gone above and beyond to better the culture of the school and the district as a whole. As Fern Locks noted, you are a dedicated teacher who truly cares about your students. You will do anything you can to help them succeed and grow. You're all about community. As a member of the CLS family, you are always there when need arises. You are the first one to bring food and a laugh. As the co-chair of the CLS Sunshine Committee, you have always been there to provide. You've thought of your classroom as a community. You've had a yearly pool party for the kids in your class and their families. And now you're doing that for your AAS students, I understand. And of course, while you were teaching third grade, you organized the yearly bike trip, which I think many of us remember with great fondness. You've organized the yearly engineers visits from IBM. You're a warm, kind, and giving individual. And it also came to my attention all the numerous grants you have secured over the years. I was given a list of about 15 or 16 of them from the Community Foundation, all of which have served the children in our districts. You have taught students about the importance of giving to the community and the ways in which you've taken students out to interact with seniors and others. Delivering Meals on Wheels has been noted by all. You are respected by all of your colleagues as a leader who volunteers to serve in all the ways we've just been hearing about, on committees, interview panels, going above and beyond. There will definitely be a piece missing from our school community when you retire, but we trust that you will be enjoying your family time, enjoying your many grandchildren. Thank you for all of that you've brought to our school. I want to recognize Grace Lilicki, who has served in the district for 29 years. And Mrs. Lilicki, in asking your colleagues for stories of what you've brought to the school, it truly is incredible testimonials. I feel like I should just mail all of you these testimonials I have received from your colleagues. Your love of music is contagious, as is your enthusiasm. You have supported students as individuals, ensuring that every student who is part of the music program with you has a chance to shine. You have obviously served as choral director for both the middle school and the high school, meaning that every year you direct 6th grade chorus, 7th grade chorus, 8th grade chorus, high school chorus, women's ensemble, men's choir, which you initiated here in Rhinebeck, the only public high school men's performing group in the county. And you have also taught, based on student interest, music theory, traditional music, performance, and improvisation. I really want to emphasize how everyone has noted that you create a safe, supportive, and positive environment for students where both accomplished musicians can grow and live up to their potential, but also novices can feel comfortable in taking a music class for the first time. Your ability to provide differentiated and individualized instruction is incredibly notable in such a diverse group of learners. You have worn many hats around the high school as musician, director, conductor, costume designer, and seamstress in many high school musicals. And your colleagues speak with great warmness of the contributions you have made over the years. And I will add that one colleague speaks of your legacy of jazzy beats and dedication to the crafts that come with music that will be long remembered by many people who have worked with you. Thank you, Grace, and congratulations on your... I believe your final concert is coming up on May 20th, Thursday. So I would like to ask for a motion to suspend the proceedings of the meeting for the purpose of eating retirement cake.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay, we shall have a brief recess for the eating of cake.
Oh, there you go. At least
Break
one.
it.
The one time a year we get to use it.
All right, thank you, everyone. And we just enjoyed some cake. Let us move on to the Raspberry Pi microcomputer demonstration.
So I'll just give Jake an introduction, okay? The Rhinebeck Science Foundation, back for the last Discovery Festival, I think it was, purchased several of these Raspberry Pi microcomputers Jake, who is a former Rhinebeck High School student, did a demonstration there. And the Science Foundation, as you'll see later on your agendas, has agreed to donate those to us. And since Jake used them at the Discovery Festival and did the presentation, he was kind enough to come here this evening and show you what it is the Science Foundation is donating to the school district. So, Jake, I'll turn it over to you if that's all right.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here back in Rhinebeck. I haven't been in this library in a while. Congratulations to all the people who retired. I know all of them. So that's exciting. So today, I met Johnny and Jen Hamoud and Johnny Lehane last year, and Jen told me about the Discovery Festival, and I thought it would be a wonderful opportunity to show some of the children in the community about this wonderful piece of technology that I had found. So today I'm just going to talk a little bit about the possibilities of Raspberry Pi in education. So first I just want to talk about computer science and education. So computing occupations are the #1 source of all new wages in the U.S. Over half of all new projected jobs in the STEM fields are in computer science, but fewer than half of all U.S. high schools offer any computer science courses. Students who learn computer science in high school are 6 times more likely to major in it, and women are 10 times more likely. In 2015, New York had only approximately 3,800 graduates of computer science in 2015, and 18% of these students were female, relatively low. Only 340 schools in New York offered an AP computer science course in 2016-2017 school year. And universities in New York in 2016 did not graduate a single teacher prepared to teach computer science in high school in 2016. Although 90% of parents want their child to learn computer science. According to Google and Gallup, 70% of principals think that computer science is just as or more important than the core classes, but the biggest barrier to providing this in schools is a lack of funds. So software developers make an average of about $100,000 a year, or $50 an hour, and that's in 2017, and that's just with a bachelor's degree. Jobs are expected to grow approximately 24% over the next 10 years, which, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, is much faster than average. That translates to about 300,000 jobs. So what is the Raspberry Pi Foundation? The Raspberry Pi is a charity. It's based out of the UK, and it provides one of the most powerful and easy-to-use computers available for the price, which is approximately $35. And because of this price and its computing capabilities, it's one of the largest forces in the world for equalizing the digital playing field through their computer science technology and education. As we know, our world is becoming increasingly technologically dependent, and the economic disparity that we'll see in the world going forward between what are known as first world and third world countries will depend largely upon who has access to technology and who has a workforce capable of being able to use this technology. The Raspberry Pi Foundation, in response to this, provides support for educators, volunteers, and parents all over the world to train to use the Raspberry Pi, to operate it, and to learn about computer science in general. There have been 17 million Pi sold globally, and globally there are about 10,000 code clubs, reaching about 150,000 9 to 13-year-olds, over 1,500 code dojos, reaching nearly 40,000 7 to 17-year-olds, which are places where either virtually or physically children can get together with people who know about computer science in general, programming, and the hardware to go through exercises and learn the material and gain a sort of introduction into this very increasingly important world. Over 8.5 million people have used these online resources, meaning have either downloaded or gone through the lessons that the Raspberry Pi Foundation provides for free to go along with the Pi itself, but really any computer programming language that you have access to or know a little bit of. There are 1,500 plus certified Raspberry Pi educators and 600 were trained just last year. The Raspberry Pi is part of a family of computers known as microcontrollers. It has 4 USB ports, it has an Ethernet port to hardwire into the internet, but it also has Wi-Fi capability. because as we know, Wi-Fi is kind of the main use of how to connect to the internet nowadays. It also has Bluetooth, a headphone jack, an HDMI port, and a micro USB charging port, which is that cable down in the bottom left. Most people in this room could probably plug in their Pi if they found their cord at home. It's like typical for Google phones, stuff like that. You can plug in a camera. You can even plug in a portable screen to turn it into something like an iPad. So instead of a regular computer, because they're so expensive, and to furnish something like a school, which could cost tens of thousands of dollars, the Pi being so cheap goes along very well with being able to provide a greater equality of opportunity of education to people. What makes the Pi special though, because it's not just a computer, are these general purpose input-output pins, which are right here on the Pi. And what you do is, using these pins, you can control very easily with programming when and how long electricity comes out of it. Microcontrollers are found in things such as your microwave or your dishwasher or your refrigerator, and their GPIO pins are already programmed and taken up, but the kids, people who use this, can do anything from building drones to building security systems to building something like a traffic light. It doesn't matter, but it's opening the door for children to understand that this is not as intimidating as it's made out to feel when you first look at it, and it's fun. The Pi can also be used to just create a simple current. I just recently took a digital electronics course at Dutchess Community College, and there, building things such as calculators or clocks, you need a standard voltage source and you need ground pins. And if you see, this is the pin layout. In the top right, we have two 5-volt sources, which as soon as the Pi is plugged in, it'll offer. There are 5 ground pins and 2 3.3 volts, offering a ton of possibilities. Just they're endless. And so here's a couple more things. The Raspberry Pi runs an actual operating system. You plug it into any sort of TV by this HDMI port, and it runs an operating system called Linux. Linux is kind of the alternative to the Mac operating system or Windows, but what's different is that Linux is open source. The source code, the code that actually runs the operating system, is available to all users, and this creates an atmosphere where it can be constantly edited or manipulated to meet certain needs. And so what this typically runs is called Raspbian. And on Raspbian, sorry, I had a point about that, but I forgot. Right, so Raspbian, you can download libraries that go very well with the programming environments that come with it. And these can hook up to all sorts of sensors, like motion sensors or light sensors, cameras, there's a ton of them. But the Raspberry Pi Foundation is also partnered with Wolfram Alpha, which is a leader in mathematics and computer information processing. I am a mathematics and computer science major. I use this thing called the Mathematica programming language in all of my math courses to analyze function and analyze data sets. It's normally $1,200, but it comes free on every Raspberry Pi. Children who are going into any sort of science will be using programming languages like this. It's not a question. And the fact that they could have some sort of prior experience with it before getting to college while having fun with it is an extraordinary possibility. The operating system is held on a micro SD card, and it's slid into the back here, meaning that you can have tons of different operating systems with tons of different data, just pop it in and plug it in, and it's ready to go. So I think the future of education for computer science relies on microcontrollers like these, like the Raspberry Pi, because they're cheap, they're affordable, they offer unlimited possibilities, and they really kick down the door for engineering and computer science for children. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That is an incredible context you've provided us with to understand the generous gift that's being given to the district later. Does anyone have questions about the Raspberry Pi? You were just so clear. There's really nothing more we can ask at this time. Yes, and perhaps May we have a motion to move up item 6.8 so we can act upon this instantly? May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to accept a donation from the Rhinebeck Science Foundation of 2 Raspberry Pi microcomputers valued at $130.45 for use in the Rhinebeck High School Principles of Engineering course as stipulated.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? That motion passes. Thank you very much. And Jake, I have to say, excellent public speaking as well as computer skills. Let's hear for the public speaking.
Who should receive the Raspberry Pi?
Ooh.
Dr. D, you can
There,
receive.
Dr. D can receive them. I'm going to pass them around the floor table.
This is all for you.
And again, let us again thank the Rhinebeck Science Foundation for this gift. Thank you, gentlemen. It is time for our principals' reports.
So I'll explain my tired. I'll jump to my second item so I can get to it right away. This is a bit of a prop today as a result of something we're very proud of. Every year, as you know, we participate in Jump Rope for Heart at Chancellor. Kevin and Ryan have spent an absorbent amount of time since 2014 really organizing that and building capacity. So as a result, each year we spend a little time with students having conversations with them about basically thresholds for raising money, and they try to motivate, try to earn, I guess, prizes. So this is one of those prizes. Basically, I just wanted to point out really quick before I get to some of those things. We've been participating in donations and organizing Jump Rope for Heart since 1999 in my school. Since those two gentlemen have taken over, we have raised over $53,000, which is actually, in that short amount of time, in 2014 up to this year, basically we've been able to raise more than we have in any years prior, all added up to when these gentlemen started. So they really total. Yeah. The total is just over $100,000 and $54,000 that we gave for these initiatives that they've really put together. So I wanted to give them that extra props. And that being said, this year we raised over $16,000. Our goal was 17. We came really close, but one of the things I wanted to let you know that as they went through, we had a $6,000 point and a $7,500 point where myself and Mr. Etzer and Mr. Yarnell would wear these disco costumes. They're basically the best way to describe it, I guess, is mascot. Every year they have different mascots, so they give us that costume. So that was one. At the $95,000 to $11,000 range, Mr. Yarnell, Mr. Etzer would dress as principal, and Ms. Locks and myself would dress as PE teachers. So it kind of turned into me and Kevin kind of poking fun at each other. So this is his, and I wore crazy socks to kind of, I guess, poke fun at him. And he, in turn, when I taught his class, walked around with a clipboard and told me that you only visit highly effective, you don't live there. And then $14,000, $12,000 to $14,000, the three of us will, like we did last year, the students get to get us with a pie in the face. So we'll be doing that to wrap up our K2 field day. So, hence, I didn't get out of camera. So continuing on, so I want to, again, just congratulate them. They really did a wonderful job, and the students in the community too, for coming together and make sure we can raise that kind of money for a great cause. I just want to give you a quick update. The Dan and Danimals and Project Fit America Back to School grant contest, as you know, we're moving forward and kind of getting everything going, but we had a groundbreaking on May 10th, and I just wanted to thank Joe and Tom and Laura for coming and being the district representatives there. I have an article, and I printed out a color copy of a great picture of the whole group. We had representatives from ShopRite, Dan and Everybody was really there helping out. We even had treats for every kid in the building. So that was the first step. I'll report to you guys soon enough in the next couple of months. We expect sometime in October to have a groundbreaking ceremony where we will literally have every student out there, and we'll really as many people as we can, especially through the Chamber of Commerce and Rotary and a lot of local groups that helped us gain access to that grant. So stay tuned. I want to let you know we had 51 students come in for screening, kindergarten screening last week, about where we were last year. This week was also, as mentioned earlier, Engineers Week. And I wanted to just take a moment to thank Rick Rizzolo, Kurt Quackenbush, Lisa Heller, Bob Lang, Peter Schwed, and Kareem Califala for taking the time to come and work with our students at Chancellor. They love that day, the hands-on activities that they provide. I got a chance to really thank many of them personally, but I wanted to take an opportunity to thank them. Our Project ACES, which stands for All Children Exercising Simultaneously, started in 1989 with millions of children from all over the world exercise together, promote proper health and fitness habits. We did ours on May 2nd at 2:45. It's our third year doing it. We now kind of get a good, we put the PE teachers up on the roof, a safe distance from the edge. And all the students are outside, and we all exercise together for that amount of minutes, and they lead it. So we were able to do that this year on May 2nd. I wanted to thank Dover, and certainly our very own Marvin Krebs for working with Dover to organize a visit to our Project Lead the Way science labs in all three buildings. So they came and saw all three schools. I also wanted to thank David Wolfen, Justin Randall, and Charlie Johnson for providing time for this is the second, I believe, the second district that came to view our science lab, our Project Lead the Way STEM lab. So we're always happy to offer that to other districts. So I just wanted to thank those people. I want to give a shout out to Mrs. Dooley's second grade class. Her students wrote letters to military service members through Operation Gratitude. And they got a wonderful letter just stating that their letters were going to be part of tens of thousands of care packages sent to our military personnel. So they just did a wonderful job kind of writing those letters, putting things together, and making sure they got it in those people's hands. We had our first grade dance residency with Jill Swartz earlier this month, thanks to the Arts and Ed. Basically, students had the opportunity to learn patterning and movement and rhythm, as well as concepts of mindfulness. It was directly related to the Native American unit. And one of the other things they actually talk about, Jill teaches them certain symbols to express in language, and then the students then take that and write a thank you letter using those symbols. So it was kind of a way for them to kind of show what they learn in a kind of unorthodox way, kind of way. So they just did it. It was a wonderful thing to see. I wanted to mention that I wanted to congratulate Isabel Coran. She's a second grade student, new family to the district. And I want to congratulate her on a piece of artwork that she had hanging. It was a Aurora Borealis hanging in the hallways. And as it turns out, Fran Kamasanis from our Northern Dutchess daycare was in the process of writing his second book and actually got permission to use that image as the cover of his new book. So I just wanted to thank her and her parents. We put them in touch with each other, and we got the permissions to do so. It's kind of a very impressive feat for her. I wanted to mention our 3-5 ELA assessment was April 11 and 12. The 3-5 math assessment was May 1st and 2nd. A few upcoming events. We do have our grade 4 science performance assessment tomorrow. And then we'll have the written portion on Monday, June 4th. Our Special Friends Day will be this Friday. They look forward to pins are in-house, ready to go. So we're looking forward to that day. K2 Field Day will be on the 7th of June. On the 11th of June is our 3-5 Field Day, kindergarten graduation. That's on 6/19. And our grade 5 moving up ceremony will wrap up the year on the 20th.
Thank you very much. Do any of us have questions or comments, Mr. King? A lot of wonderful things happening. Thank you for sharing them with us. Thank you.
Mr. King's out there. I'm going to begin my report this evening with a couple of just reporting on a couple of research projects that our 6th and 7th grade students have either recently completed or are in the process of completing. Our 6th grade students recently completed their annual Top 100 project. This is an interdisciplinary project that's done Mrs. Erlanger in her writing classes and Mr. Weisendahl in his social studies classes, and students research a famous, aka influential person in history, and then it's their task to write a persuasive speech and convince all of their classmates that they are in fact the most influential person in history. Students present to their own individual classes. There are a number of finalists that are selected, and then they present to the entire grade level of the auditorium. This year's finalists, a whole slew of fantastic presentations this year. But this year's finalists included Teddy Roosevelt, Steve Jobs, Clara Barton, Albert Einstein, Bill Gates, and Alexander the Great, among others, with the overall winner presenting as the co-founders of Google, Larry Page and Sergey Brin. Our 7th grade students have been working to research aspects of the Civil War and Reconstruction, and they're learning to use video editing software, and they're creating 10-minute to 12-minute documentaries on different aspects of the Civil War. This is a project we've been doing for a couple of years now. Again, the scripting that they're doing of their lessons, learning about imagery, learning about the use of humor, has been very interesting, an interesting process to watch. As a parent of a 7th grader, I'm getting to see it from the inside for the very first time in my 13 years here, and it's been a neat project. Parents, as we've done in the past, parents will be invited to view the students' finished projects, I believe, the first week of June. Members of our peer leadership club have been very busy this month. Earlier in the month, they worked with CLS students on an engineering project, learning about buoyancy, teaching them about buoyancy actually, then designing and building life preservers for soup cans, and testing out their products as part of the 3rd grade unit as they learn about the history of the Titanic. And just last week, members of the peer leadership club worked with CLS 2nd grade students. I think there were a number of pictures that were out and about, dressed up in period dress and serving as docents throughout the village as they taught 2nd grade students on their walking history tour. With these activities, and I've reported out on them over the course of the school year, with these 2 activities, Mr. Christian's Peer Leadership Club has now taught at each of the 6th grade levels in the elementary school throughout the year, so pretty nice accomplishment. Not to be undone on inter-school collaboration. Mrs. Kogel's anatomy and kinesiology students spent last Thursday and Friday teaching Ms. Ramos 8th grade phys ed classes. Students were tasked with teaching about core, upper extremity, and lower extremity skeletal and muscular anatomy, and then corresponding stretches and exercises that could strengthen those areas. Mrs. Kogel's students taught about the core by creating a life-size thoracic cage and pelvic girdle complete with Velcro muscles to demonstrate how the abdominal muscles are layered, then taught the students yoga poses which isolate and strengthen your core. They talked about prevention of ACL injuries, then taught students exercises to improve knee stability and how to properly jump and land using the Vertimax. And finally, they taught students how the elbow, shoulder, and wrist articulate to provide force to shoot basketball. This week, thanks to the hard work of Henry Frischkinet and the entire 7th grade team, and with much financial support, I think I mentioned that this series of field trips that the 7th grade students are involved in this week, I believe the final price was somewhere in the $8,500 range, and they wrote grants to a number of funding organizations, the Rhinebeck Science Foundation, the PTSO, the Arts and Ed Committee, the Olana Historic Site, as well as the Community Foundation, and managed to acquire all the funding for these field trips that the 7th graders have been participating in without any money being put up by the district. They left yesterday, today, tomorrow, Thursday. Over the course of the 4 days, all students in the 7th grade will visit the Olana Historic Site, where they will explore the geometric and symmetric Islamic art forms and architecture throughout the home of Frederick Church, and then they'll learn how to create tessellations, and they participate in their own project. They visit the Sprout Creek Farm. Many students did that today, where they will learn about farming nutrition and their connection to the Hudson Valley ecosystem, and then do a creative writing activity. Tomorrow and Thursday, actually, some did yesterday. They'll visit Esopus Meadows over in Ulster County. They participate in the Clearwater Tideline program, spent the day learning about the biodiversity of our streams, lakes, and rivers by conducting macroinvertebrate studies and actually singing in the Esopus. And finally, and I believe this is the 6th year that we've been doing this now, 7th grade students will take part in the walking history tour. They visit the Beekman Arms, the post office, the Dutch Reformed Church, and the Daughters of the American Revolution house. They work with period artisans, actors, and learn about our rich history here in Rhinebeck. Earlier this month, the 7th grade band traveled to New York City to attend a samba concert at Lincoln Center, and just last week, the 8th grade students participated in Trills and Thrills Music Festival, where their performance earned an excellent rating from the adjudicators based on their musicianship and technique. The spring concert season is well underway. The band concert took place, as some of you know, on May 10th. Mrs. Lillicki, her final middle school concert will be next Wednesday night. I invite everybody to attend at 7:30. And finally, the small ensemble concert will take place on Thursday, June 7th at 7. 8th grade students are wrapping up their study of Shakespeare at ELA. Again, thanks to an Arts and Education grant, they were able to work with performers from the National Shakespeare Festival. To complete this year's state assessment administration, 8th grade students will sit for the science performance assessment this Thursday, and then do the written portion of that assessment on June 4th. Just want to point out, if you haven't had an opportunity to get over there, that the art show titled Collective Artistry is on display over at Star Library. It has been there all month. It is there for a few more days, I believe, until the 31st, and the student work is amazing. This Friday, BMS will welcome Randy Kreider, who will present to 7th grade students about the dangers of substance use and abuse. Ms. Kreider is a 2009 Kingston graduate. We brought her back a couple of times. She's presented to our health classes before, but not for a couple of years. Also, a couple of years ago, she presented to our 8th grade students. She lost her brother to drug addiction back in 2015. Her and her family began a foundation at that time, and they have spent the last several years presenting in local school districts in an effort that, in hopes that by sharing their story, they'll help prevent similar tragedies. This Friday, we're very excited about this. This Friday, members of the 6th grade Intro to Foreign Language class will be piloting the use of Facebook Live to interact with 13 children from Madagascar. With the assistance of one of the high school students, the high school seniors who visited Madagascar through the Culture Connect program last summer. Students are going to share introductions, pictures, songs with these individuals over in Madagascar in real time. We're hoping that it's successful, and we look forward to expanding that connection next year. On June 11th, 7th grade students will visit CLS first grade classes to share French and Spanish children's books that they've created in their target languages. This has been a collaborative project between the computer science classes as well as foreign language classes, and they've written and illustrated these books. In addition, with the assistance of Larry Anthony, 7th grade students will participate in French and Spanish Food Festival during their lunch period on June 6th. And just to wrap up the year, a couple of end of school dates. June 14th is the last day of classes at BMS. June 14th, that evening at 6 p.m. is the 8th grade ice cream social. 7 p.m. is the moving up ceremony. June 15th is our field day. There's still room on the dunk tank list if you're interested. And finally, we begin the process all over again on June 18th with the incoming 5th grade parent orientation. So, lots happening with BMS.
Thank you, Mr. Chemnitzer. Are there questions or comments? Certainly sounds like a busy season. Lots of good things happening. Thank you, Fis.
Good evening. I'd like to begin, as I usually do, with an update from the building level planning team. The BLPT conducted its spring day of service on May 12th. We had 10 students participated in helping to get the memory garden ready for spring, mulching, planting annuals, things of that nature. As you may recall, we had planned on having students work at Mazzarella Park, but with the chance of lightning on that Saturday, with the not having an indoor place available, we were not able to participate there. This year, the BLPT has sponsored a day of service in the fall, winter, and spring. Have participated about between 10 and 15 students at each occasion. So we're going to continue that pilot and hope to increase student participation. The BLPT at its next meeting will revise our senior and 9th grade exit surveys, which we administer each year. Academic updates. In the English department, the 3rd annual Anthology of Student Writing is almost complete. This year, the anthology includes writing from 2 additional academic disciplines, languages other than English and math. The English department has also invited their colleagues in other disciplines to read Lester Fagley's text, A Little Argument, in hopes that this reading might foster a common language in our school when it comes to making and analyzing arguments. And the hope is that not only will this support our writing across the curriculum initiatives, but will also help students develop the skills they need to discuss controversial topics with empathy and with mutual respect. In our social studies department, we are preparing to administer the transition global exam on June 5th. And with the support of our colleagues at BMS, we'll create an optimal testing environment in the 40 wing to allow our students to do their best on that new exam. Members of the science department have recently attended a conference on the new science standards in which they learned how to infuse the next generation science standards into their instruction in grades 6 and 12, and how to modify existing curriculum and materials to better align with the next generation science standards, and how to overlap science and engineering to meet those standards and prepare our students. In physical education, our teachers have wrapped up the Project Adventure unit, and they are have begun an archery unit, an indoor archery unit, which our students are really looking to. In the music department, our band had an in-school concert on April 3rd. Again, thanks to BMS for allowing us to run an activity schedule. And on April 17th, our band traveled to Marist to have a joint rehearsal with the Marist band. During this rehearsal, which was conducted by Ms. Natalie and the Marist band conductor, Mr. Himmelberger, Marist band students sat with our students to rehearse and provided some individualized, detailed instruction and coaching to enable our students to perform their pieces with fidelity. I want to recognize our guidance department for the successful administration for the past 2 weeks of over 200 advanced placement exams, and thanks to the flexibility and support of our colleagues in the middle school and in the high school to provide an optimal testing environment. In the co-curricular realm, the Creative Writing Club has published the 2nd volume of their literary anthology, Dead on Arrival, and recently attended LitCom Woodstock, where they had the chance to think and write and collaborate with published authors as well as professional editors and graphic designers. In our debate team, we sent 2 teams to the Bar debate tournament last month. 2 of our students won individual awards. Congratulations to the Drama Club on our high school musical this year, Mary Poppins. Almost a quarter of high school students are involved in some capacity. 900 tickets were sold. And the matinee was the best attended matinee that I recall. For the 4th year in a row, with Mr. King's support, CLS 3rd through 5th graders came over for a performance, and then a little debrief afterwards with the cast and crew. The Environmental Club will conduct a river cleanup this month, and they have partnered with US Again to provide an opportunity for our community to recycle textiles. You may have noticed this receptacle. That sounds more fancy than dumpsters. You may have noticed this receptacle by our dumpsters in the student parking lot. We are granted 5 cents per pound of recycled textile materials, and so far over 500 pounds have been donated. We'll continue to publicize this opportunity to our community. Our GSA sponsored our participation in the Day of Silence on April 17th. The Model UN traveled to Manhattan to participate in the Dalton Model UN tournament and competed. They were one of 40 schools to participate participate in this activity. Our newspaper club students in journalism are excited to share an 8-page newspaper with it's the first in my time here. So if you have not yet, please grab an issue on your way out this evening. Several members of our class have been accepted, the journalism class have been accepted in competitive summer programs dedicated to the study of journalism. In student council news, student council elections historically have taken place in the fall. But a close read, thanks to the student council of our student council constitution, indicates that our constitution requires that student council elections take place in the spring. So we have been out of compliance with the constitution for a while. Elections have taken place in the spring. This means that we'll have state officers ready to run in September, planning our entrance to school events. I'd like to recognize and congratulate our junior class officers and our junior class advisor, as well as all the attendees of our junior senior prom. We had 180 students attend on Saturday at Crystal and Poughkeepsie. All the students had a wonderful time, and as usual, I'm very proud of how they behave themselves and report themselves, and the owner of the venue invited us back at any time in the future, so that's always nice to hear. The week of the prom, thanks to the help and support of our resource officers, we conducted our almost annual now Safe Driving Week in PE classes. There was a Battle of the Belts. We had a representative from AT&T to help our students understand the dangers of texting while driving. And we had a victim impact speaker, Jonathan Wheeler, who spoke with our juniors. He's been speaking with our juniors for the past 5 or 6 years, telling his story. Coming up, finals, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. We will have a choral concert Thursday. There's the Lincoln's final high school choral concert. Blood drive on May 24th as well. On June 4th, we'll have our academic awards assembly. On June 5th, our athletic awards assembly. Finals will begin on the afternoon of June 11th. And on June 23rd, that date is ringing a bell, but I just can't put my finger on this. What's happening on June 23rd? What's happening on June 23rd? They're uncharacteristically shy this evening. You're graduating, commencing on June 23rd at 6 p.m.
Thank you, Dr. Davenport. Are there any questions about what's going on in the high school? Again, a lot is going on. It's wonderful work. Thank you. Thank you for your report. Okay, so it's time for our board committee reports, beginning with facilities.
Okay, that's me. We met on May 8th. And, well, so some of this is a little outdated now. Should I be the announcer? So the capital project was approved. SED approved the capital project. But that happened after I wrote up the minutes.
Yeah.
So,
Still didn't get the paperwork.
what's that? And there's
Still didn't get the paperwork.
we still didn't get the paperwork, and it's really late. So I'll read this anyway. So we spent a fair bit of time discussing the fact that the capital project was still under review, and the impact of that delay on our construction timeline, which I believe is still the same issue. We withdrew, since our last meeting, we withdrew the project from the expedited third-party review process that would have cost extra because we were at the same spot in both queues. Due to the fact that we still had not received and only just received approval for our project now, we can only plan on doing summer work on elements that involve state contracts, namely the work on access control, the doors, and the phone system. We don't have enough time to go through the bid process for other work to be done this summer. Plus, we expect the vast majority of contractors are already booked for the summer, and we were very concerned that costs would be extremely high for any contractors who would be willing to bid on such short notice. After the project is approved by SED, 4 bids will go out in the fall for HVAC, site work, electrical, and general contracting. The bulk of the work will take place in the summer of 2019-20 and summer of 2021. A representative from Lime Energy Services had contacted the district about the possibility of an LED lighting project with funding from an EPC, which is an energy performance contract with Central Hudson. We're not sure how much energy savings we would be able to get in such an upgrade, which factors in how much funding we would get, and how, when, whether we could tie the payment into the capital project. So Sheldon and Tom will look into this with our construction and design professionals. Tom explained we can't set up a bond at this time in anticipation of interest rates going up because we're not allowed to set up a bond until 50% of the work is done on the capital project. We already have short-term bands, which are bond anticipation notes, and we're able to invest that money in the NILAF, the New York Liquid Asset Fund, investment pool up to until when we need it. NILAF has a guaranteed rate of return of about 1.5%, which is compared to the 2.5% interest cost on the band, and the money can be pulled out with a day's notice. We then moved on to talk about regular summer facilities work. Plans are underway for field fertilization, pavement patching, railings, and hardware screens on the window. Hardware and screens on the windows. The short-term plan for the potholes at the base of the driveway on North Park is to patch through the end of the year and then get outside contractors to cut out a piece and repave that section. Sheldon said it's been very challenging to do this work because of weather, timing, and the fact that both sides of the driveway are damaged, but his crew has been doing their best. The long-term fix will be repaving, which happens in the capital project. The metal plate in front of CLS is the responsibility of the Village of Rhinebeck and will be fixed by the village when school is out. We moved on to talk about trees. The Village Tree Commission planted 4 trees at CLS in anticipation of having to take some trees down for safety reasons in the future. And the trees in the high school courtyard, is it multiple or just one? I can't remember. Well, the trees in the high school courtyard will have to be removed soon because if they get big and develop problems, there wouldn't be a way to get them out of the courtyard since the only access routes are through the school hallways. Our next meeting will be May 31st. And that's that. Any questions?
No? Okay. Thank you, Jacqueline. All right, let's move on to Communications Committee.
So that's Laura, but she's not here, so I'm going to read for her as well. So we met on May 9th, and we had invited guests, Susan St. Clair and Victor Britton. Thank you for joining us. Our first topic was talk to your teachers. Susan and Victor joined the committee to discuss appropriate communication strategies between parents and teachers, due in large part to the proliferation of negative commentary on social media of late. Board policy is very specific about how to best resolve issues with staff, and we have the policy link here. But it seems that social media is becoming the go-to place for airing parental frustrations with particular issues in the classroom or in the district more generally. The group recounted the Talk to Your Teacher campaign from a number of years ago. Susan and Victor seem to recall that it helped communications between staff and parents. While the district has no oversight of Facebook postings, and school law is very clear about prohibiting the defense of staff using district resources, we would like to encourage modeling appropriate communication, not just between children, but between adults as well. The committee explained that the upcoming district Facebook page will be well controlled and comments from parents will be vetted prior to going public so as to eliminate the possibility of defamation. We would like to be proactive as possible in encouraging better communication in all facets of the district. Unfortunately, certain parents feel uncomfortable meeting with teachers directly. In addition, many times students beg their parents not to make a big deal. So it becomes increasingly difficult to address any concerns or misunderstandings when they occur. We brainstormed different approaches, including having friends or counselors join a reticent parent to act as sort of a parent advocate. It may also be appropriate to speak with a guidance counselor when parents are unsure. It's clear to all that given our focus on wellness, we need to model civility and respect for one another in our community. It has been the practice of board members to alert Joe to any posts that highlight a problem. Joe then informs the appropriate principal to share out with the affected teacher. Perhaps it is time to reboot the Talk with Your Teacher campaign. Board members should make a point of inviting parents to reach out to the teachers during their open house welcome. and Susan and Victor will encourage teachers to be clear in their classrooms about promoting discourse. There may be benefit to attempt tracking social media posts regarding the schools and teachers to get a sense of positive and negative mentions. We then moved on to talk about the district Facebook page. Steve and Joe have been testing the Hootsuite migration of Twitter posts to the district Facebook page, and all seem to be working well. A universal image should be chosen for the homepage. Populating the page with website news stories will require some programming on our website, which will likely happen over the summer. In the meantime, double posting will occur for now. We've discussed having a soft launch in the spring to continue to work out any bugs and incorporate any feedback. Our goal is to have the page fully launched at the end of the summer ahead of the fall sports season start. Now that the revised acceptable use policy has been approved, all teachers and students will be asked to review and sign it. Steve is going to look into linking Artsonia as well as video from our various YouTube channels to Facebook. This is also an excellent way to promote events at the school and potentially increase the use of the school auditorium. We then talked about the district brochure. Claudia Cooley from the Chamber of Commerce got back to Joe with feedback from local realtors who think that Rhinebeck sells itself, and parents will come armed with internet research regarding school offerings. The committee agreed that it's still worth presenting ourselves positively, and we'll move ahead with the design and finalizing the copy of the district brochure. Jacqueline and Laura will work together to mock up the layout. Steve Jensen, with his InDesign training, will be able to create the file. And the district calendar. Steve shared his ideas about redesigning portions of the district calendar, and the proposed changes seem great. Our next meeting is June 14th, respectfully submitted by Laura Shulkin.
Thank you. Questions or comments?
Yes.
I think that the top tier teacher, was it was part of our board goal, and I think that it was successful the year that we did it, and that's important. The social media is maybe a little bit different than that, and another issue. I'm wondering if the committee plans to keep taking up the topic, and I'm wondering if maybe like inviting the administrator of the Rhinebeck Moms and Dads might be a good idea. I don't know what they can do there. I mean, this is obviously an issue that's been a problem, and not a lot that we can do, but maybe that's an avenue to pursue.
Any questions or comments? I just want to strongly second the sentiment that comes out in these minutes that taking some kind of leadership in terms of talking about civility and communication and really modeling and communicating ourselves to folks who come to us outside of sort of the talk to your teacher sort of pathway, that I think it's really important for us to remember to continue to encourage that, because it's something that can be forgotten. With new families coming in, they don't really know. They don't know about a campaign that happened 3 years ago. And certainly we know it's true that the kind of anonymity that seems possible through communication online definitely brings out different kinds of emotions and feelings and expressions that we're all rather ill-equipped to deal with. So helping people to realize that's not the place to go first, that talking to the person most closely connected to the concern is obviously the way forward. Thank you. Okay, so curriculum committee. I think you also wrote those, Jacqueline.
Oh my gosh. I did.
You did write those. I
forgot about
but
that.
I thought they're your minutes.
That's all right.
I'm not going to do your minutes.
I knew how to read. I'm a librarian.
She's really good at it.
All right, so the curriculum committee minutes, that was May 14th. And we had invited guests there as well, Dr. Davenport and Sarah Wheeler. We talked about course proposals for English 9 and 10 honors seminar. And I just want to give an update before I read this. This talks about a proposal which doesn't seem to work with the schedule for this fall, for this coming year, but will continue to be developed for the following year. So at the time that we met, we didn't know that it wasn't going to work out with the schedule. So just keep that in mind. A few years ago, there was a proposal to replace the 9-10 Honors English with an honors seminar, but with other things going on, that proposal was put on hold. Before that, the district eliminated modified English classes in the interest of heterogeneous grouping in those classes. Recently, the school replaced 11 honors with an additional AP course offering, and the English department has observed positive results from that change. Dr. Davenport stated that research shows heterogeneous groupings advance all students. To summarize, the proposal in the board packets involves enrolling all 9th and 10th grade students in Regents English, with an option to take an advanced writing-intensive enrichment seminar for a quarter credit and the possibility of an honors distinction. Small groups of students could meet once per ABCD class schedule cycle. The scheduling would be similar to AIS classes, but details would need to be worked out. This seminar would be open to any student wishing to take it for opportunities for more reading, more writing, more discussion. The curriculum of the seminar would be vertically aligned to AP English classes. No additional staffing would be needed, and no electives would need to be canceled to achieve this. Joe suggested that this might be rolled out as a pilot to see how well it works, and Marvin talked about whether we could build in assessment criteria from the start. We would also want to get feedback from next year's 10th graders who participated in 9 honors and therefore have a basis for comparison. Some of the concerns discussed include the question of whether this would add heavy reading for students taking a course once every 4 days, whether this model would present an improvement for high-achieving learners, and whether students would be willing to take on the extra work for a quarter credit. Also, staffing levels need to be kept in mind as the smaller class sizes reach the high school. More concerns were shared by email after the meeting and will be addressed in response by the English department. The committee discussed whether this change would require board approval or just notification. I'm going to skip over, up to any summer curriculum work would need approval. And not sure whether this would really be a major change or a minor change, but it doesn't seem like it would need board approval other than the summer curriculum work. So since the scheduling didn't allow rollout of this proposal for coming school year, we could try it earlier next year and have time to engage the students and help them understand what the change means. Then we talked about music a little bit. Dr. Davenport provided the preliminary numbers of students who have been placed in band, chorus, the women's chorus, and men's ensemble. And the committee also started a discussion about reviewing the music program. Our next meeting is June 6th.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Questions or comments?
I actually want to make a comment, if it's the right place.
Yeah.
So I did quite a bit of reading, sort of a lit review of detracking and heterogeneous versus homogeneous groupings at the high school level over the course of this week. And I just wanted to, because I was surprised at the idea that research shows that heterogeneous groupings advance all students. And what I found in my research is that the vast majority, and I'd be happy to share with anybody if you want all these research papers, that the vast majority of studies of sort of what does the most good for the most students and the students with the most need is definitely detracking and heterogeneous groupings, definitely. However, it doesn't come at zero cost for all the students. And I found that universally, the researchers and educators in the field of gifted education found that homogeneous groupings were best for high-achieving, gifted learners. And not that there weren't any benefits, there are definitely some benefits to those students as well to be in heterogeneous groupings, but it seems that the advancement of all students is maybe more a reading of the findings that scores are not going down. The highest achieving students are not going down in their scores, and they're not going down in their grades. But that doesn't, that's not surprising, since arguably the classes might be a little less rigorous. And so one would expect that they would keep their scores and grades. So I felt really strongly that I recognize for the general good of the most students is obviously where we have to aim our resources and our policies, but that it doesn't come at no cost. And so I wanted to share that.
Any other questions, comments about curriculum? I just want to add that in this meeting, which I also attended, really very impressive thought on the part of the English department in going forward with the proposal and really trying to think about new models for the Dillard and Honors curriculum in 9th and 10th grade. And this is on top of having written tremendous amount of new curriculum over the last several years. So I feel great kind of confidence in moving forward towards finding some kind of model that is going to be effective for all learners. I certainly share your concern that it's not just the majority, it's really we want to make it possible for all learners to succeed. And I feel that the thought and care and the responsiveness that we heard and has continued to be communicated is richly evident, and I have real faith that a good plan is being developed. So to be determined. So
Yeah, I agree with that, and I appreciate your pointing that out. I should have pointed that out as well.
long-range planning.
Those are Laura's, and
Laura did all these minutes, but no meeting to miss.
So for long-range planning, this was our May 15th meeting. We talked about the Citizens Advisory Committee. As of that meeting, we have 17 names of people interested in being on the committee. And as of last week, we had one more name added, so we're up to 18. And I just should note that if anyone is still interested in being on it, we're taking more names. Just have to email the long-range planning committee or contact the district office. So we're not full by any means. We talked about what the meetings would look like. We're talking about proposing 3 evening dates for this to work. The first meeting would be about understanding what the work that the committee's done and why we were looking to do this. We plan to send out information to those that are interested in participating so they could read up on the long-range plan committee's minutes for the year, as well as the CDEP plan, to help them get a little bit up to speed. Then we talked about the idea of getting a facilitator to run these meetings, and Joe's looking into that. If we use a facilitator, it's more likely that would push our timeline out a little bit. We would really like to start holding meetings by the end of June before the school year ends, but that's what we're working towards. What else? And then, so if we hopefully met by the end of the year, then that would push meetings probably into the fall. I mean, we'd look at the summer, but with people's schedules, we wouldn't want people to not be able to attend.
Any questions or comments on long-range planning? Personnel committee.
Those are mine. We discussed the contract negotiations with the 3 bargaining units and looked at the consistency across the district's positions for all 3, just to make sure that we're being equal across them. The next meeting is May 21st.
There's no time for the 2017-18 environmental hygiene report.
Yes, it used to be called fire inspection. We have a fancy name for it now, but you get the idea. This inspection is required to be undertaken once per year. It moves up a month each year, so next year it will be in April, right? Essentially, the board is supposed to have reviewed this report, so it's in your packet. But if you go to the last page of the report, it's broken out by the 3 the three buildings that State Education Department has on record for the school district. One is Rhinebeck High School, which also contains the district office and the middle school. One is the storage garage right outside the district offices. And the other is Chancellor Livingston Elementary School. You can see the violations there. Most of them are listed as minor in terms of severity. Daisy chaining is apparently a popular habit that's a violation of State Education Department health and safety laws. All of those non-conformances were corrected within a day of the inspection. So we have submitted that to State Education Department. We have our certificates of occupancy for the next year. But since we're required to review this at a public meeting, we just reviewed it at a public meeting. Are there any questions? Okay.
And all of these things that were determined, there's no need for reinspection?
No.
Right, so, yeah.
None of them were serious enough, according to the way the regulations are written, that a reinspection is required.
Excellent. Okay, so now we have a moment for good news.
We've had a lot of good news tonight, but I guess I'll just mention we have multiple sports teams moving forward in sectional play once the rain stops.
Maybe they'll get them in next year.
Go Hawks.
Go ahead.
Any other good news? Okay, old business.
I don't have any old business.
We have a moment for public comment again.
I'm Susan Boland, a special education teacher in high school and a member of the Rhinebeck Teachers Association negotiations. I always wanted to believe that teaching was a noble profession and that teachers were valued by communities who understood the importance of the work we do for your children. I've always believed in the value of collective bargaining, where two sides negotiate in good faith to find a settlement that is fair and reasonable. Generally, trends in negotiations reflect the overall economic times, and looking back at past settlements in this district, it is clear that our agreements have reflected the changing economy. We all understand that percent increases are lower than in the past, and health insurance costs have risen. The Rhinebeck Teachers Association continues to negotiate with this in mind, offering a variety of compromises and creative solutions in the hopes of a fair settlement. What I struggle with is that the district seems to intend to handle its fiscal challenges by actually taking money from their employees, rather than settling a contract that reflects the value of the teachers to this district, considers the economy, the increased cost of living, the contractual trends in the region, and that will also continue to attract quality educators to this district so that Rhinebeck can continue to receive accolades. Fiscal decisions of the past created a situation that warranted the designations by the Comptroller's Office. Fiscal challenges require creative problem solving that considers all variables. The district has responded to the designation in various ways, and the hope is that once the 2017 data is analyzed, Rhinebeck will no longer be considered in moderate fiscal stress. I urge you to continue to look for solutions to amend mistakes of the past, but the Rhinebeck Teachers Association did not cause the fiscal stress of the district. Do not look to solve these problems on the backs of labor. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your statement. Thank you.
If I can make a comment, unless there are other people who want to speak first, and I'm certainly willing to give up the floor to anybody else who wants to speak.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak?
Excuse
Is this
me?
the end of public comment?
It would be, yeah.
Come forward, Mr. Brickman.
Thank you. I'm glad to ask for clarity. Victor Britton, physics teacher, on the negotiation team, vice president of the RTA. I just wanted to comment on some of your comments, and I've echoed this a lot. Some of you that I know, Joe's been around me a lot. I always try to say that we have to keep in mind as leaders in the district that we often plug things in terms of our own children, and when we look at heterogeneous grouping versus homogeneous grouping, the kids often that really are not represented aren't their sort of modality of thinking and their parents' modality of thinking doesn't get represented in leadership groups. I know that although some of the studies you cited might have seen cost, they might not have been able to measure the benefits of that type of grouping of these groups. So it's a complicated issue. All right, so CPI, 2.5% currently. The Social Security cost of living adjustment is 2%. Regional settlements are roughly around half of that in terms of salary increases for neighboring districts like Red Hook and Millbrook. Rhinebeck has offered ways to increase our members' sharing of the burden of health insurance costs. Health insurance is important. I know this personally, and I know a lot of my colleagues, I know a lot of you must know this too, because it happens to a lot of people. My son contracted type 1 diabetes when he was here in 10th grade. Since then, we switched over to the old PPO, good insurance policy. But there's all kinds of special conditions that his condition requires, and we see specialists that aren't in network. We help him with anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 of out-of-pocket costs just to see specialist doctors. And I know colleagues that have other situations, and as good as all PPO is, there's certain things that are not covered. So it's a very personal situation when you start talking about health insurance. These issues involve our families. They are not simple economics for us. Budget negotiation process, through that process this year, our teachers have been questioning some basic issues of their value, coupled with what's happening in our world, which is not under your control, not under our control. We question our issues of safety. We've also, I've personally heard of I'm hoping a small group of parents, I know I spoke with you about this, that there seems to be a feeling that the teachers don't deserve a settlement that's on par with other districts, and that we've somehow aren't entitled to the types of salary and benefits that other teachers are seeing. So I brought this little graphic aid. Anybody, I think people know this? You guys know this? This is Abraham Maslow came up with the hierarchy of needs, and just in terms of earlier, if you do a Google search on this, Wi-Fi is someplace really low now. But in all seriousness, we all try to live at the top of the pyramid, and I think you guys know, and I know my colleagues who I'm lucky to work with know that with just walking down the hall, you have to be engaged as an employee, as a teacher, and as a listening and trying to do what we need to do as professionals. When we start worrying about our safety, when we start worrying about taking care of our family, we're spending time down here. I'm spending time down in my brainstem and not up in my cerebrum. And I'm, waking up at 2:30 in the morning just because I'm a physiological creature. And we need to be up here, and we need your help to keep us up here so that we can help your children stay up there and learn to live a life where they're self-actualizing and taking care of these higher needs. It's we're all lucky to be teachers. We get there. I say it often, is every day is spring, because we're always with new people that are embarking on their lives. But it's a challenging job, and it's an important job. And I know you know this, and I know that we'll be able to get to a good place if we keep working at it. I came across, wrapping up, this is from 2016 Forbes magazine, authored by Dan Pontefract. And this was sort of a build-off of this. I used to be in management before being a teacher. And certainly when we have employees that have to do jobs, there's the job, I know you can't see this, the job mindset, the career mindset, and the purpose mindset. And I don't want to have a job where I have a job mindset where I'm just checking off a list. A career mindset's not bad, because you get advancement, you get salary, title, power, team size, span of control. But purpose mindset, this is where you can get, and I tell the kids all the time, you have to get up out of bed and do the same different things. Even if you're in the gig economy, you still have to get out of bed, and for 30, 40, 50 years, you're doing something every day. You need purpose, you need to be passionate, you need to be innovative. I know you want us here. This is where I want to be. So help us be there. Help us settle this contract. Thank you.
President of Rhinebeck Teachers, middle school teacher. You heard the sentiments. We've been here for a number of different meetings talking with you, looking to get a contract settled. We've had, as Amy referenced, without our separate meetings for our negotiation team, we've met with the district 14 times already and have a 15th meeting set up. And as I spoke to you last time, these are the people that take our kids from, coats and mittens to caps and gowns. And we are passionate about what we do. And I remember, I want to say it was about 8 years ago, I was down by the high school cafeteria, and there was a parent there. And I was talking with her because I knew her daughter. And she said to me, because it was June, and she's like, she goes, I never used to understand why teachers would look forward to that time off, because she now had a part-time job in our district. And she says, but I get it, because you're on every minute, every day. And that's true. These are the people who are answering the door when the kids are knocking at the teacher's room, because they need help, or they have a question, or coming to them at the end of the school day, or, I know we have, teachers sitting here that I was amazed by, because this person stayed till about 8 or so one night and fed a child dinner because he wasn't going to have something otherwise. And she found out what was going on with him, and she stayed with that boy to make sure that he was okay. These are the people that are here. These are the people that work here. But I'll say to you that we have not felt in negotiations as though we're really approaching any kind of real settlement. I know that we didn't get to talk to people on your team when we met with the mediator, Mr. Edelman, the other day, but I'll tell you that our team was walking away not feeling great about that conversation, not feeling as though we're getting much farther than we had in any of the other 13 meetings in terms of getting to a settled contract. So, we have a meeting coming up again. Let's see what happens, but I would be glad to say to you, if your people want to call my people, let's talk and let's do it and get it done, because I don't know where we're going otherwise if this does not happen. So thank you and have a good night.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Because I like to say what I was going to say before, but again, glad to defer the microphone to you. And I want to make it clear that I'm in no way trying to rebut any of the things that our speakers on this topic so far have said. And I actually think both sides want the same thing, a fair contract negotiated in good faith. Both sides want the same thing. And as I think we all know, it'll take both sides to get to that point. I'd like to emphasize something Victor said that resonated with me. And he said, I believe he said, I don't want to misquote you, but I believe he said that we'll get to a good place if we keep working on it. And I believe that's the board's intent. I'm glad you mentioned that. We have another meeting set up for Monday, June 11th with the PERB appointed fact finder, and we're optimistic that we can wrap this thing up then. And that's all I wanted to say. So thank you. Thank you all for being here and for your comments. But I had to say something on behalf of the board. And I'm not speaking for the board, I'm just speaking for myself. So thank you all for being here. I believe I'm speaking for the board, but I don't want to do that. So
Thank you.
that was my moment at the open mic. And if there's nothing else,
All right.
we got quite a
All right, we'll move
before
on
us.
to other. For other, I have a letter I'm sharing with members of the Board of Education. I won't read it out loud, but I will say that at the end of June, I will be resigning my position on the Board of Education. I have been appointed Dean of the College at Bard College, and it is a massive job that I had hoped I could find a way to combine with board service, but truly board service is, I have to say, to acknowledge the work that all my colleagues do, it is a very time-consuming proposition. So I have distributed my letter of resignation, and I want to say, I'm going to read one sentence from it though, which is to say, it's really been an honor to serve alongside all of you, my colleagues, on the board, to serve with the professionals who administer this district, from whom I've learned so much. And truly it has been a privilege to serve the community of educators, many of whom have attended so many of our meetings over the last several months. And what motivated me to get into board service was a sense that public education has been assaulted with a series of critiques and sort of lack of kind of public support. To me, the things that I've learned in my 5 years of service have changed me as an educator, as a human being, and as a citizen, I hope, who will continue to remain involved in what goes on here in this district. And I certainly hope you'll let me come to the Citizens Advisory Committee as a citizen. I'm here till the end of June, but I had to make my announcement tonight, so thank you very much. So, now, I've got to put my other hat on and go into action items. So, let me ask if there is anything that anyone wishes to remove from the consent agenda. Seeing that there are no objections, let us ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? 6 in favor, that motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to grant tenure to Jamie Bjorkman in the tenure area of special education general, effective September 1st, 2018, and may be revoked by the Board of Education up until that time.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? 6 votes in favor. Motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to grant tenure to Ashley Wilsey in the tenure area of elementary, effective September 1st, 2018, and may be revoked by the Board of Education up until that time?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? 6 votes in favor, that motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to grant tenure to Courtney Green in the tenure area of English, effective September 1st, 2018, and may be revoked by the Board of Education up until that time?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? 6 in favor, that motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to grant tenure to Nicole Kappeler in the tenure area of education of children with handicapping conditions, education of speech and hearing handicapped children, effective September 1st, 2018, and may be revoked by the Board of Education up until that time.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? 6 in favor, that motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to grant tenure to Fawn Johnson in the tenured area of art, effective September 1st, 2018, and may be revoked by the Board of Education up until that time?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? 6 in favor, that motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to grant tenure to Nora Kindley in the tenure area of school media specialist, effective September 1st, 2018, and may be revoked by the Board of Education up until that time?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? That is 6 in favor, that motion passes. I do want to say there's something very satisfying about voting for the tenuring of these teachers on the same night we honor our retirees. We have already approved and voted on the motion for the item 6.8, so let us move on to 6.9. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve the 2018-19 course enrollment waivers, see attached, from Advanced Ceramics to AP Bio?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Oh, yes,
Can I make
sorry.
an amendment to approve up to AP Bio, please?
Yes, as amended.
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor? That is 6 in favor, that motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve the opening of the 2017 budget vote ballot box and authorize the disposal of its contents?
So moved.
Well, that's the rate.
Okay, right here. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? That is 6 votes in favor, that motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve overnight travel as needed for any of Rhinebeck High School's varsity teams that might possibly be competing in the spring 2017 Section 9 tournament if one or more should advance to the state championships as follows. Varsity baseball, June 8th to 9th, 2018, Binghamton, New York. Varsity softball, June 8th to 9th, 2018, South Glen Falls, New York. Varsity track and field, June 7th to 9th, 2018, North Syracuse, New York. Varsity tennis, May 31st to June 2nd, 2018, Flushing Meadows, New York. Varsity golf, June 3rd to 4th, 2018, Ithaca, New York.
So moved.
Second. I was just wondering whether Flushing Meadows, whether they're going to play at the U.S. Open or not. Is that,
Well, that would be our
Kinda got
discussion.
spectator
All those in favor? Okay, that's 6 in favor, that motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve Megan Rodier to provide mandated counseling services for students in grade 5 per their IEP or 504 plan for no more than 2 hours per week after the conclusion of her workday at RHS, BMS, and prior to CLS dismissal, due to the unanticipated departure of the leave replacement for Morgan Labruto, currently on .6 FTE board-approved leave.
So moved.
second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? That is 6 in favor, that motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to authorize salary increases effective July 1st, 2017 for Annie employees and titles not covered by the current Annie salary schedule. Brendan O'Hara, 1.0 FTE to $48,899. Marianne Torres, 1.0 FTE to $57,950.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? 6 in favor, that motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve the appointment of additional enrichment program advisors for Chancellor Livingston Elementary School for the 2017-18 school year, see attached?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? That is 6 in favor, that motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve the probationary appointment of Shauna Colley to the civil service position of guidance aide assigned to the Bulkley Middle School effective July 9th, 2018 on step 5, $42,374 in accordance with the Annie salary schedule for 2017-18.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? That is 6 in favor. That motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve the list of additional emergency conditional substitute teachers and substitute non-instructional staff for the 2017-18 school year?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? That is 6 in favor. That motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve the list of summer 2018 service providers for students requiring year-round academic support? See attached.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? That is 6 in favor. That motion passes. May I have a motion to move into executive session for the purpose of discussing collective bargaining with one of our units?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? That motion has passed. We are moving into executive session.